On today's video, we are going to tone my hair. I decided that while I tone my hair today, I would talk to you guys a little bit about toning, how you do it, what it means, maybe answer some of the most common questions I see on the internet about toning your hair, and dispel some of the misconceptions. So lately I have been coloring my hair as opposed to bleaching and toning it. I've been using the Wella Colston Special Blonde in shade 12-81, which is a super ashy pearl blonde, and it does get my natural hair very, very light. It has a lot of violet and blue pigment in it. You'll see in the hairs around my face where my hair is naturally lighter and I actually have a little bit of gray hair, I do get a little bit of purple pigment, residual pigment left behind. That's pretty normal for a product like that. It goes away after several shampoos. But if I'm using a color that lifts and tones all at the same time, why am I toning my hair? I'm simply toning my hair because I want my hair to have a little bit more depth, a little bit more of a warm fall blonde. The toner that I am using today is the Matrix Color Sync, and I am mixing equal parts of shade 10 Pearl and 9 Gold Violet. Now, instead of changing the color of my blonde, I am simply choosing to tone it because toning is more temporary than using a different color on my hair. Then I would have to sort of correct my hair back to platinum. This way I can keep my hair platinum and simply tone over top of the platinum, and this toner will fade and go back to platinum after a few weeks time, or I can keep retoning it to maintain this tone and this level, but it is much more versatile than actually switching the color of blonde, because if you're a blonde, you know you were very non-committal to changing your blonde, and we typically always want to go back to our platinum color. So I like to just shift my hair with a different toner once in a while when I am feeling the need for a little change, as opposed to actually changing the color of my hair. The first thing I want to address is, what is toner? Toner is not really so much of a product, it's more of a process. Now, you can buy boxes of things labeled toner that is meant for toning, but you could actually tone hair with just about any kind of hair dye if you know how to use it correctly. And I'm not going to get into all the technicalities of it because it is really, really complex, and if you're not a hairstylist, there's just so much you would have to learn before you could really fully understand it all, but we'll go over the basics. So what I'm using today is a demi-permanent hair dye to tone my hair, and what toning is adding pigment that you want to add, or neutralizing pigment that you don't want to have. So the most common time that you see people wanting to tone their hair is when their blonde has come out too yellow and they want to tone out that yellow to get a more platinum, cool blonde. And so that would be toning for the sake of neutralizing. So in the case of a yellow, you would use a violet toner to get rid of that yellow and leave you with a more platinum or neutral result. One misconception that I often see is people saying they want to tone their hair to make it lighter. Well, you cannot do that. Toner does not lighten your hair. Toner, like I said, simply neutralizes unwanted pigment, or like today when I'm doing it, adds pigment that you want to add to your hair. In my case, I want to add a little bit more gold. I don't want it to be too warm, which is why I've added the pearl, and the gold is a gold violet, not a straight gold. I also want to add a little bit of depth. My hair is a level 10 platinum blonde. I don't want to go down to a true 9 because honestly I feel that's a bit darker than I like, but I want to go a little darker than a level 10. So I have mixed halfway between a level 9 and a level 10. So instead of using a 9 pearl with the 9 gold violet, I've used a 10 pearl, and that is going to keep the formula on the lighter side. Now, can toners affect your natural hair color? Toners absolutely can, especially if you're using a demi-permanent color that is alkaline to tone your hair and you are using a 10 volume. You can get what we call a slight base shift to your natural color, exposing some of your natural underlying warmth, and it could leave your natural roots that you have exposed looking a bit warmer than you like. In a case like mine, I don't worry about any natural base shifts because none of my natural base is exposed. 100% of my hair is colored. This will not be the case if you're someone who has balayage or highlights. You will have your natural hair color mixed in with your bleached hair or your blonde dyed hair. Now, I do find the absolute majority of people don't experience much or any base shift with a alkaline toner and a level 10 unless their natural hair is quite light, but this is on a case-by-case basis, and again is something that's usually best determined by a professional. So if you are doing your own hair at home, it can be advisable to use what's called an alkaline toner, which is not going to shift your base, or use a demi-permanent that comes with a zero volume developer that will have zero lift. Every toner or toning product that you use is going to be slightly different, and you always want to make sure you follow the manufacturer's instructions explicitly. Even if it's different than one you've used in the past, some of them have different mixing ratios, different time amounts, all of that. And of course, rules are meant to be broken. But again, if you don't have extensive knowledge of what you're doing, you shouldn't start by breaking the rules when you don't even know what you're doing. So if you're doing your own hair at home, I typically suggest just stick to the manufacturer's instructions of whatever product you've purchased. Choosing a toner color is, to me, the most fun part, but for most people is the most stressful part because they don't necessarily understand how to get what they're looking for. So again, you need to first figure out, are you trying to add tone or are you trying to take away tone? Are you trying to get rid of orange or yellow in your hair, or are you trying to add more pigment to your hair? Are you trying to add silver? Are you trying to add gold? Are you trying to add strawberry blonde to your platinum hair? What are you trying to do, add or take away? If you're trying to add, you want to understand a few things. You want to understand the level of your blonde, first of all. So my hair is right up here in the level 10, 11 range when it is platinum. And that means if I want to add tone, I want to make sure I can pretty much add any tone. Once you're level 10, you could pretty much add any level of tone. You could stick with level 10 tones to keep your hair really bright, or you could go down into the darker shades, and that's going to work really well as well. If you drop down more than 2 tones, you might need to fill your hair. I'm not really going to get into this because, again, it's a really complex issue, and it's not true for every product. Some products have filler right in the product and some don't, but most people I find when they're toning aren't shifting their color by more than 1 to 2 levels. So in that case, you shouldn't have to worry about filling your hair if you're going from a really platinum color to something slightly more pigmented. Once you've figured out where your level lies, so if you figure out that you are a level 9 and you are wanting to go more ashy, or you are wanting to go more copper, or you're going to want to go whatever, if you want to keep your hair the same lightness, you will pick a toner that has the color pigments you want. So if you want to go more copper, you're going to pick a copper gold, a copper red, whatever color it is you like. And if you want to keep the same lightness, you're going to pick a level 9 copper red or a level 9 copper gold. If you want to go slightly darker, you're going to pick a level 8 copper gold. Down to 7, you're going to start to feel quite a bit more depth. 6 is going to be quite dark. Once we get into the 6 and down, we're talking brown. I mean, obviously, if you've added red or something, it's not brown, but these level 6 and below are quite dark. Level 7 and up are quite light. But you are going to stick with your level or lower. What you're not going to do if you determine that your hair is a level 9 and you want to go copper gold is pick a beautiful level 10 copper gold, because you will be disappointed. It will not make your hair level 10. It will maybe add a little tiny bit of pigment that will wash out really quick, or nothing will happen at all. You want to keep your toner when you're trying to add pigment at your level or lower. You want to do the same thing when you're trying to take away pigment. First of all, you're going to decide what level your hair is. Did your hair get lifted to a level 7? Does it look orangey like this? Did you get lifted up to a nice yellowy gold level 9? Or did your hair get lifted all the way like mine to a super pale level 10? If you got lifted to a level 7, or let's say like a level 8, I say level 8 is where I see a lot of people get stuck, It's very gold, it's very light orange, and they say, I want to be platinum, so they grab a level 10 violet toner and plop it over top of their level 8 hair, and what they get is just a mess. It might be patchy, there might be some lighter spots around their face that tone, the rest of it's still orange, maybe their ends that are really porous go a little bit cooler, but it just looks awful, and that's because the level 10 toner is made for hair that was lifted to this shade, not this shade. So if you want to neutralize your level 8, you need to use a level 8 toner. Now it's going to neutralize you at a level 8. It is not going to make your hair platinum blonde like a 10 that has been neutralized. It's going to leave you with a nice dark blonde. And that just is what it is. If you want it to be lighter, you have to lift it lighter. When it comes to determining what pigments you need when you are neutralizing your hair, that all comes down to color theory. And again, it's a really complex thing that is really hard to understand when you don't have the entire knowledge of color theory behind you and years of experience. Even new hairdressers struggle with this for quite a while because it takes a lot of practice and hands-on experience and trial and error to really truly understand how different pigments are going to affect the hair at different underlying colors that you have to deal with. But the basics are you want to pick a color that is opposite from the color you have on the color wheel. So if your hair is orange, you are likely going to need a toner that is more blue based. A violet is meant more for yellow. So if your hair is a level 8 that's really gold, that would be more yellow. If your hair is a level 8 that's really orange, you're going to want more of a blue. If you've got a lot of red down at a level 7 or 6, you might want something that's got green undertones to help neutralize that if what you're looking for is a neutral tone. Violet is always the go-to because purple is seen as the color that makes all yellow go away. The problem is you're not always dealing with yellow, and a lot of people look at all of these and think that it's yellow, when really it's usually level 9 and up where you're toning out yellow. Pretty much anything below level 9, you're toning out golds, oranges, and then down into reds. If you are deciding to do your own hair at home, it is absolutely worth taking the time to understand the basic rules of toning hair. Learn about your hair specifically, not just what somebody on the internet says about their hair, because their hair might be slightly different than yours. And sometimes even what we see on screen is deceiving. Their hair may look lighter than yours, but in person actually probably looks darker, or vice versa, things like that. So make sure that you take the time to figure out the level of your hair, the underlying pigments that you're trying to neutralize, or the pigments that you're trying to add, and research your products from there. Take your time, practice. You can even do a test strand. Everyone just wants to jump in and slap it over their whole head. But even me, when I'm trying a totally new toner that I've never tried before, or a formulation of colors that I've not tried on my own hair before, I might take a section of my hair, test that out, and see how it works before I put it over my entire head. And that is because if it doesn't work out well, we're dealing with one small section that we're waiting to fade, as opposed to my entire head being the completely wrong color or being patchy or looking awful. And it gives me the opportunity then to reformulate and figure out another formulation that might actually turn out the way I want it to. If you hate your toner, no worries, they fade. All color fades, even permanent color fades, all color fades. But toners are quite light and a little bit transparent for the most part, so they are going to feel like they fade faster and expose more what is underneath a lot quicker. So you don't like it, it will go away pretty quickly. Now, on the other hand, if you love your toner and you want to maintain it, you probably will need to retone your hair every 4 to 6 weeks to keep the toner looking like you want it to. Otherwise, after about 4 to 6 weeks, it will probably look like your hair looked before you toned it. This is why people use things like purple shampoo in between getting their hair done and whatnot, because that toner will fade and re-expose all the color underneath. If you are a really platinum blonde who has been lifted to a level 9 and then you're toned to be a nice cool blonde, that's when you're going to feel like your hair fades and goes brassy. To counteract that, I typically lift 98% of my clients who like to be blonde up to a level 10, as long as it can be done so safely, including myself, simply because as the color fades, that beautiful toned level 10 fades, it's exposed and it is not very yellow, as opposed to when the level 9, even though it's a beautiful platinum itself, they look quite dark on here, but they really aren't that dark. But when that toner fades, it's going to expose a lot more yellow, which makes people feel like the hair is brassy. If you want no brassiness as your hair fades, you're going to need a level 10. But caution, a lot of people's hair, if it cannot handle bleach or high lift blonde, could fall apart and disintegrate before you reach level 10. And we have all seen those girls who have had that experience on TikTok or Instagram, and it's gone viral and their hair is falling out in clumps. And that is absolutely something that can happen, and it is a lot easier to happen than you think, depending on the history of your hair, the products you're using, the products that have been used before. Why does that happen? That happens because your hair is made up of layers, and the products can eat away at those layers, and we can eat away at a certain amount of those layers and then kind of repair those layers with products later. But if you eat away at all of those layers at once, your hair will just start to come apart because nothing is holding it together at a molecular level anymore. The structure of that makes up your hair strand is completely gone, and that's why your hair will just fall apart in clumps. And honestly, no products will really fix that. I mean, you might be able to salvage some of your hair, but it's never going to look healthy, it's never going to feel nice, and it's really never going to be back to itself until all that old hair that was chemically damaged is gone. I hope that helps. I hope that has answered some of your questions about toner. If you have other questions about toner, leave them in the comments and I will do my best to answer those. But for now, I'm going to go wash my hair, blow dry it, and show you guys what this looks like. Here we go, fall blonde. You can see it is slightly darker, a little bit more gold tone to it. A very cool gold though, and a lot of people don't realize gold can still be cool. It doesn't have to mean warm or orange. There's actually no orange in gold, in my opinion. I have been doing this color on and off all summer, so I already knew I loved it, and I wanted to bring that over into fall for a more fall blonde. And I noticed some of you, my hair probably looks exactly the same. But if you're a platinum blonde, you know the subtle differences feel huge. For some reason on us platinum blondes, a slight shift in our tone feels massive. But let me put it before and after side by side right here so you can see, definitely can see the difference there. Either way, I love it. It also makes my hair super shiny, just really helps to smooth down the hair shaft, adds like a nice glossing effect to the hair. And yeah, I tone my hair periodically. I dye my roots every 2 to 3 weeks, and I tone my hair probably every 6 weeks or so, or as I feel like it needs it. When it starts to feel a bit more on the platinum side again, if that's not what I'm feeling, then I go in with a toner, and if I'm wanting to feel really white and platinum, then I just leave it as it is. Notification bell, guys, so you don't miss any of my videos, and like and subscribe because it really helps my channel grow, which helps me to keep making content for you. And thank you so much for watching today, guys. I always love creating videos for you, and if there's any other videos you would like to see specifically, let me know in the comments below because I can make those for you. Bye, guys.